it's not just about you. It's about teaching your kids that. Because if you're just in
Right.
survival mode, crisis mode, freaking out, running around, sacrificing everything, then what are your kids learning? They're learning they have to sacrifice everything. And they
Right.
don't get to care about their needs. They don't get to care about their wants. And they feel like a burden. And you don't want them to feel that way. Hey, what's up, guys? It's ex-Morgan with My Spiritual Life. Today, I have Rachel from Post-Mormon Parenting. I'm so excited to have Rachel here with me today. If you haven't seen her before, which side is she on? I don't know. We'll find out later when it comes out. She has an awesome TikTok and an awesome YouTube channel, and I actually did an interview with her a while back, and I'll link that below as well. You can find all of her stuff down below. Today, we're going to be talking about martyr, specifically within Mormon moms. Okay, the martyr attitude existed a lot in our parents' generation and their parents' generation, and but especially I feel like it was way worse in Mormonism than it was like socially. Now I don't know that for sure, but we're going to talk about it today. That's how it seemed to me. Yeah, so Rachel, thank you for being here. I always love talking with you, so this is gonna be a party.
My pleasure. I'm super excited to be here with you. And I feel like I say that every time. I'm super excited, but I really am. I love chatting with you. And as moms, I feel like we have so much in common and so much that we can relate to with each other, especially, having grown up in the church and then had this like be our trajectory. We were going to be like the stay-at-home Mormon moms, and we were going to carry on the legacy that our pioneer ancestors gave us, or that our convert ancestors gave us. We're going to carry on that legacy, and here we are not doing that.
Oops. My bad. Sorry.
But some of those feelings are still so hard to shake off and to let go of. And like the things that we were born with, you were born and raised in the church, correct?
Mm-hmm.
As was I. And so we were taught these things like from day one. This is who you are. This is your legacy. This is your path, your trajectory for life. And here are the ways in which you're going to accomplish that. And those things, they settle deep into your bones. It's so hard. You can't just decide one day, I'm not going to do all of that. Like you really got to do the work of digging deep, finding out what is it that I'm feeling? Why am I getting triggered? Why am I upset about things? Why do I feel trapped? Why do I feel, whatever I feel? Where is that coming from? So I'm hoping today we can dig a little bit into that, see where are these things coming from and what do we do about it?
I love that overview. I love it because so much of it is getting curious, right? Because you can decide one day the church isn't true, but it's still in you. It's like you can take the Mormon out of Mormonism, but can you take the Mormonism out of the Mormon? It's still in there. And it's that way with your childhood trauma. It's that way in whatever religion you grew up in, whatever societal things that you learned growing up, it's still a part of you. How can you get curious about it so that you can change it? So I love that. So let's just talk about martyr, like the martyrdom, that we saw maybe in our parents or in the other women at church. I'm going to specifically in this video talk about it more with women because that was where I saw it. I'm sure it existed in the men too, but that's mostly where I was seeing it because I was in Young Women's, I was in Relief Society, I was, in those spaces. So I think for me, when you're talking about martyr, it's this, I'm putting myself on this pedestal of self-sacrifice and I'm making it mean something about myself. I'm making it mean that I'm this good, noble person, that I'm doing things the right way, and you owe me something because of it. And I think that's the important thing to understand about this martyr complex, this martyr attitude you see in those older generations and in Mormonism is this like, I'm sacrificing so you owe me.
Yes. Yeah. Well said. Well said. And don't we feel that too when we get all of the pioneer stories? Like I saved this when I was a young woman, all these stories about the pioneers, oh, I owe them big time.
Yes.
I want to share this one. Okay. So I kept almost all of my handouts from when I was in Young Women. So this is one of them. This is this guy who served as a missionary in England, and it says, who was this? Brigham Young and his fellow apostles were called by the Lord to leave their families and preach the gospel in England. They were not only very sick, but left their families sick as well. Brigham Young reports, my health was so poor, I was unable to go 30 rods, 160 yards, to the river without assistance. I left my wife sick with a babe only 10 days old and all my children sick and unable to wait upon each other. But he left his loved ones in the care of the Lord, whose servant he was, having the assurance that he would be cared for. It's stuff like that, that exactly like what you were talking about. I'm going to make the ultimate sacrifice, and I'm going to do that day in and day out. And I expect that the Lord is going to bless me in return, either in this life or the next life.
And not only is the Lord going to bless me, but you need to make sure to be stalwart because look at all I sacrificed. And if you're not stalwart, you're wasting it.
Exactly.
And that hello, little friend.
I
No,
got a little
no
sidetracked.
worries, no worries. Um, and I saw that specifically within Mormonism, specifically with moms, where it was like, to be a good mom, you have to put everything on the line. You have to give up absolutely everything for your kids. It was that way about the religion, right? To be a good Mormon, you got to give up everything for Mormonism. To be a good mom, you have to give up everything for your kids. And it's really, really toxic. And not just
Absolutely.
for the kid, it's toxic for the adult too because
Yeah.
the adult gets resentful and that's why they get mad at you when you don't stay Mormon, you don't do what you're supposed to do because they're seeing it as I'm sacrificing so much so that I get you to do the thing I want you to do. And it's not
Hmm.
healthy. It's
Hmm.
manipulative. It's very manipulative.
Yeah. There's also this question of being deserving. Like, who am I to say like that I deserve a day off? We're like, these poor early saints, like they were on their deathbeds and they still had to do the work and they still had to do everything that was ever asked of them. Like, how could I say I'm better than them and I deserve more? I deserve a break. I deserve to do my hobbies. I deserve to be financially stable, like
I
those
love
kinds
that
of thoughts creep in all the
it
time. And
it
I'm
puts
like
all this
constantly,
guilt. Like you shouldn't complain. Your biggest struggle is just porn. So that's a Mormon joke for people who don't get it. It's like the pioneers had it really hard, but we have porn and that, it's just not comparable, right? Not comparable to walking barefoot through the plains of, Utah. I really got you
I
off
can
guard
hardly breathe
enough.
because it was such a good joke. And it makes me
That's
like
good.
cry and laugh at the same time. Like, so you really nailed it. They have the
It's
flames,
just this
but we
feeling of
have
like, yeah.
porn. And
Yeah.
isn't that so hard? Like, guys, it is the exact same. We're persecuted the
No,
exact same
okay,
amount,
this
and
is
life is
totally
just as hard.
this is a tangent, but I've heard people say that our struggle was harder with porn, and I'm
Yes.
just like, I really don't think for boys, like, jerking off, that was harder than, like, your sister dying in the freezing snow, like, I really don't think that was harder. That was weird, that was weird. Anyway, so what I was saying about that is just there's this martyr complex comes in, and it's like, you don't deserve to have a good time. Like life is supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be unpleasant.
Mhm.
And you're supposed to put it all on the line. And that's how you prove you're a good person. You're a good
Right.
mom. You're a good wife.
Right. And how many times have we heard stories from these pioneer ancestors or the early saints, or even at funerals that we have, where what gets put up on a pedestal? What a legacy this person left behind. What a life of service. They never stopped
Yes.
giving. They gave and they gave and they gave and they gave. And it's, this really, mm, I really got very emotional when I saw, I think it was like a Facebook post, some social media post a few weeks back where some Christian woman was talking about how, they say you can't pour from an empty cup, but you know what? I had an empty cup and I was still able to keep pouring, God's grace, Jesus Christ, you just keep praying and they give you more than you thought you could ever do. And isn't that great? And isn't that empowering? And all I'm thinking was like, oh my gosh, girl, you need to give yourself a break. Like
Oh my
you,
gosh.
you, yes, you're right. You
Yeah.
can pour from when you feel empty. But if you're in that kind of mode, are you in survival crisis mode or are
Hmm.
you thriving? And this is where I really had to wrap my mind around like, yes, you know what? I could do stuff like this. I could keep working while I'm on my deathbed and while my children are on their deathbed. I could, but that's crisis and survival mode. Do I really want to be in that mode my entire life, or do I want to be thriving? And so instead of asking, what do I need to survive? Because that was like the low bar for as a mom, what do I need
Yeah.
to survive? I'm only going to do self-care as much as it makes me survive so that I can keep giving and giving to everyone else. So
Yeah.
instead of that, now I try to ask, what do I need in order to thrive?
Yes, and what does
And
thriving look like for me, right?
exactly.
It's
Yeah.
not on the edge of burnout, hopefully. That's
Yeah.
not what it should look like, but that's what we
Yeah.
learned. Well, and the thing to point out here too is that when you're trying to learn to thrive instead of be in survival mode, it's not just about you, it's about teaching your kids that. Because if you're just in
Right.
survival mode, crisis mode, freaking out, running around, sacrificing everything, then what are your kids learning? They're learning they have to sacrifice everything. And they
Right.
don't get to care about their needs. They don't get to care about their wants. And they feel like a burden. And you don't want them to feel that way. So
Yeah.
remember that it's not just about you two, it's about setting a good example for them. And I've seen this a lot in my life because I was in survival mode for so long. And the difference I see now is that I'm paying attention to my wants and needs and trying to actually get them met. I'm not the best at it, but I'm better than what I was. And because of that, I'm further away from burnout. So that, it's progress.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Morgan, you're a life coach, right?
Yeah,
And I don't know how long you've been doing that for. How long have you been doing life coach stuff for?
2016.
2016. So of years. You've been doing it for years now.
Years and
So I
years, yep.
imagine a lot of this has come up. So what do you have as some reasons? Like what are reasons? What do you have as some ideas for like how do we move forward? How do we number one let go of these harmful, unhelpful ideas? And then
Right.
number two, like what do we replace them with? How do we move
I
forward
love
with
that.
that?
I'll share a quote first and then I'll answer that because this quote is so awesome. I just found it the other day. Self-care is giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. I know, right? I was freaking out.
I
So it was
love
from
that.
Katie Reed. It says American mental health advocate. I don't know who that is. I just saw it on social media. So, um, I think the name of the game, this is a really hard ship to turn around. When you've spent your
Mhm.
whole life giving, 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 it's because usually you feel bad about yourself, and that's the only way you can feel good about yourself is by giving. So it's about learning
Mhm.
how can I feel good about myself, even if I'm not giving or not being productive. And so I think it starts with small little steps. And one little step could be something as simple as just asking yourself, what's something you need today? Or even something you want today? And
Mhm.
how can you get that need or want met? And keep it simple. Like it could just be like, you know what? I want 10 minutes away from my kids and be like, husband, can you watch them for 10 minutes so I can just have a breather or an hour or whatever? So just start small and try to focus on appreciating the things you're doing right instead of getting down on yourself for things you're doing wrong. Any
Mm.
tips you have, Rachel, on this topic as we're wrapping this up?
I love that idea of starting small. One thing that's helped me is actually to think really big. Like, what would I be doing if I had no restrictions whatsoever? If I had zero responsibilities, like money was not an issue, I could go anywhere in the world and do anything. What would I want to do? Let's like pie in the sky. Like, honestly, this is never going to happen, but just like, let's just play pretend because
Right.
we suck at that. I do. At least, like, I feel like my play pretend got beat out of me by like
Yes. Yes.
all these young women like handouts and stuff. Like I don't get to play pretend anymore. Like this is life, and your life depends on it. Your eternal salvation depends on it. Let's just play. Let's
Yes.
just play
Yes.
pretend. What would I do? And I have a really good friend who she said, you know what I would do? I would hike the entire Appalachian Trail just for fun. Like I am wild at heart. I just want to be out in the wild and I want to be alone. And that's what I want to do. And she figured out a way to do it. She's not doing like the entire thing all at once, but whenever she can go, she goes for 1 week or 2 weeks and does like one portion of the trail. And then
Oh my
a year later
gosh.
or whatever, she does like the next portion of the trail. So eventually she'll have done the whole trail and she has these great pictures to bring back home to her kids. And she's got little ones too. And you know what she does? She does the same thing that we have to do, like that internal pep talk that says, I'm not a reckless mom. I'm not a reckless mom. I'm not a reckless mom for going
Yeah.
out and doing something that I love to do that I really need for me to thrive. And I love that about her. And I think she is just incredible. I really, really look up to her, really inspired by her. And so I'm trying to do the same thing. Like, what would I do? What would, like, pie in the sky? What would I do? And it's okay if I can't do that right now. Like, like baby steps, what little bit of that can I do right now? And again, I have
Right.
to tell myself over and over and over, like, you don't really need that. You don't need that to survive, but
Mhm.
I do need that to thrive.
Oh, yes, I love that so much. Okay, that story is so touching to me, and it's about really showing yourself that you matter and that your dreams matter, your
Yes.
wants matter, and the more you can just get that met in a little way, that's so beautiful. Like, I'm just gonna go on a local hike for an hour, and, like, how
Yeah.
can I instead of, how can I introduce this to my life in a small way, and it brings so much meaning into your life. Like, for me, the way I've brought a lot of meaning into my life is by through playing music with friends and playing pickleball and just even doing those little things that I love that I never thought I'd be good enough to do pickleball tournaments, but I just started off small. Like, I'll just play once a week or once every other week. And then I just did a tournament this last weekend and I actually won some games. It was crazy.
That's
So
so
just start
cool.
small and just see where it goes. It doesn't have to be this overwhelming thing. And it brings so much meaning and vitality to your life because it's boring. Changing diapers all day long is lonely and it's boring. And you're the only one that can make your life matter more. And you're the
Mhm.
only one that can look within you and figure out what it is you want. And it's scary to even start that journey. What do I want? Start there. It's
Yeah.
scary because a lot of us just have no idea. So I know we gotta wrap this up, but Rachel, did you wanna have any other thoughts?
No, I don't think so. I think next time we talk, I wanna talk about the giving tree because,
Oh, yeah.
someone in the excellent space has written, like, "This is how the giving tree should have ended." And anybody familiar
Oh
with the
my
story
gosh.
of the giving tree, like, the tree just gives and gives and gives and gives and gives. It's like it's such a perfect Mormon mom, you know?
Yes, yes!
But, like, actually, maybe let's set some boundaries. Maybe let's do, like, instead of just giving and giving and giving, like,
Yeah,
well, what about me? What I'm gonna
yes,
show myself that I matter too, and that my thriving and doing
right,
really well for myself matters too.
and how
So,
that's
I'm
not
excited to talk about
selfish.
that another day
Yeah.
with you.
Yes, yes, I love it, I love it. Okay, Rachel, thank you, guys. Check Rachel out on TikTok, on YouTube, Post Mormon Parenting, and yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Awesome.
Peace.
Thank you, Morgan. Mwah. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Rachel.
Bye.